Hello, my beautiful pumpernickels. Yes, you read that title right. Even if you're still a beginner or intermediate, I'm going to show you how you can get, I would say, at least a 218 relatively fast. Now, what do? Hot lap mode, I chose about 9 a.m. You come here and you choose a low temperature because that will make the engine work well. And yes, I am driving the Mustang. It's the elephant. Let's get that out of the way. I wanted to give myself the best tool to get the best time possible I could do. And I'm not that much of a good driver. That's the thing. I did a 215.7, but I'm not that much of a good driver. I'm at best a intermediate driver. I'm at best an average driver. So with these things, let's just jump in. Now, of course, if you're some sort of a beginner, you may not know, setups. Of course, we need a setup to make this work. But then you say, well, I don't know what's going on. Well, this is ACC. This is ACC, so you can just come here, choose aggressive. Now, this works for almost every cars, and it's kind of the secret of what's going on here. You kind of do this, and this, basically. Almost every car, there's no going wrong about it if you do something like this. There you go. You can maybe do this if your car is a little bit too much unstable. You put the rear toe on 0. I cannot, to be fair, I cannot handle going minus 0.1. But if you do this, it's going to work. Now the electronics, I'm not that much of a good driver, so I tend to stay around here. Do this you take out. On the mechanical grip side, I would say, heck, stay around here. I know some people like this, but if you put too much, you will suffer on turn-in. So I like to go, I usually go as low as I can, but depends on the car. On the McLaren, you tend to go like this. So I would say stay around here. You lower the brake bias. I would say something like this. And then on these things, usually if you do something around like this, it tends to work, okay? And then you put it like halfway, something like on the rear. And then just give it a little tap here on the front so you can cure some instability with the rear. And then here, I put it on, this is like the meta setups. This is known. And then, and this pisses me, this makes me so angry that this is the meta, because this is so unrealistic. It hurts. Honestly, it hurts. Now, front, you go all the way. Then the brake ducts, you go as low as you can without making the discs overheat. Now with the Mustang, in almost every single track, the trick with the Mustang is just to almost either full or around here. At Spa, the wing halfway through to between 6 and 8, depending how well you drive. But then it's up to you. Now this is kind of the meta setup. Again, this is very known. And now you got this out of the way. You get all of this out of the way, and now it's time to hit the track. So let the track guide begin. Now, of course, the lap begins with the final corner. You're supposed to be more on the right to really open up the corner as much as you can. Unfortunately here, while I was hot lapping and I was trying to improve this current lap. So technically I could still gain a little bit because my last corner was not optimal to start a new lap, but here it goes. Here you can see me really slowing down because at this point I understood that this lap was gone, so I might as well just prepare next lap. So that's what I did. Here you saw me. I don't know if you saw me. I switched from TC3. I started applying the throttle, and then I switched to TC2 to get that extra acceleration. It might get a little bit leery on the steering wheel, but you can try if you want. Now here we want, and this is the main thing that I would say beginners have, is they tend to not use all the track. Here the track limits, it is not the white line. It is not the curb in itself. It's that that thing for the rainwater. You can basically put your left tire here. I'm not using all the track here, but I can basically put my left tire basically on that drainage cover to recover the water. So I could have used a little bit more. So I would say if you're chasing a lap time, focus on using the track. Using all of the track is one of the main things that I really had to improve when chasing times. So here we go, we start a new lap. We are now arriving to the first corner and the breaking point. And there are, I would say, one very clear thing that I see beginners do a lot and that they have to improve. They tend to not use all the track, okay? And when beginners start using all the track, so going all the way to the left to start their braking, they are kind of going slowly to the left while braking. So you have to take the habit as soon as you can go all the way to the left. If a corner is to the right, of course, like in this case, go there as soon as you can, because at that moment you no longer need to think about how much can I go to the left or not. No, your car is already positioned at that point correctly. So all you need to do is focus on your braking marker. Now here you have the 100 board, so you can start braking at the 100-meter board if you're I would say more of a beginner. But there's a better braking marker. I think I'm actually going on the brakes a little bit soon. But if you see in front of the hood, there are two marks of tires, okay? I hope you can see right in front of the hood. There are two tire marks. Start braking at the end of those marks. Here, I think I'm a little bit early on the brakes. So I hit the brakes as hard as I can, See, I'm starting to let go to avoid the ABS, and now trail braking. Slowly coming off the brakes, but carry them to the corner to make the car really rotate. And as soon as I'm at this point, I'm out of the brakes, as you can see, and I'm already starting to apply the throttle. We need to start focusing on not coasting too much into the corners, because that will create understeer. So always try to have some sort of input. So now I'm already starting to go on the throttle. Unfortunately, I went a little bit too aggressive. Then I switched to TC2 from TC3, and I'm trying to hold it to really improve acceleration as much as I can. Let's see from the inside what that tells us with the steering wheel. We brake hard, slowly turning in as well. Don't overdo with the steering wheel. Get close to that wall, apply the throttle, and now we're going to turn with the rear. See, TC2, look. It's a right corner, but my steering wheel is almost turning to the left, just accompanying that little slide. Because ideally, we want just a little slide, abusing that slip angle a little bit, and turning the car with the rear. Now we get to Eau Rouge, a very, very difficult corner, but a key point, an absolute key point if you want a good lap time. And we need two things from this corner. First of all, it has to be full throttle, absolutely. If you get a setup, maybe a high-mo or a go, or if a set that you did yourself, and you cannot take this corner flat out, or at best, at worst, just a little lift of the throttle and going back straight in, then there's a problem. I've had many instances where I was given a setup, or I got a setup from Go, Heim, or whatever, and I could not do this corner full throttle, so I just upped the rear ride height. Sometimes it's enough. It's 1 millimeter up. Sometimes it's just enough to do this. But it's imperative that you take this corner, first of all, flat out, and then the second thing is tire friction. We need to limit the tire friction as much as we can. Because if you make a mistake in this corner and there's a little bit too much tire friction, you have to turn the wheel a little bit too much because the line wasn't perfect, or your setup requires you to turn the wheel a lot, you will lose easily a tenth before the chicane at Les Combes. So, focusing on the line. Using all the track, you do this left-hander in a way that because the track is going down, and then you're going to hit bottom, and then the track's going to start to go up. By the time the track starts to go up, and it's time to turn for that right-hander, see my car is basically pointing to as much as on the left as I can, because I want to open up the next right-hander, again, as much as I can, not only to first do this thing full throttle, and second, to eliminate as much friction on the corner as I can. So let's watch this closely. And then, boom, slowly but surely turning the wheel. Now, we want to hit, ideally, I don't like to go further than this with the right tires, because if you touch this curb, the car's going to get unsettled. Or best case scenario, the traction control is going to kick in, and again, you are going to lose time. If for whatever reason your setup or your car doesn't rotate very well here, you can just bite the beginning of the curb, right? There's the first bit of the curb is flat, and only after the first centimeters there's a sort of inclination. Try to hit with the tire just the flat part of the curb, because it will help the car rotate a little bit. And then, when you're really chasing those final little milliseconds, straighten the wheel as soon as you possibly can. And we are going, again, to use all the possible track. Technically, I could maybe still use a little bit of the track, but again, you're 246 kilometers an hour, so you're dealing now with very fine margins at this speed. So to me, this is good enough. Let's see what that looks like with the steering wheel. So here we go. We want to be decisive with the steering wheel, but not too much. Softness. Be soft, but precise. See? And then I'm going to... There you go. Wheel, just basically straighten it up as fast as you can, and then using all of the track. Let's see what that looks like in real time. Smoothness with the steering wheel. Straighten it up, and let's go to the Les Combes. Now we're powering through Les Combes. Use all the track here again. Putting my TC up to 6 now, because we'll like 6 on this section. Now the braking marker, you see there's that curb. Okay? There's the start of the curb. We're gonna brake I think just before the start of the curb. But you might say, well, before you told us that we would have to be parallel to the white line to use all the track. But now, as you see, I'm kind of at an angle, right? My car is not perfectly perpendicular to the white line. Why is this? Well, let's see. Slow down as much as... See, just as you get to the 100 meter board. But again, why is my car at an angle? Because I'm aiming the car to go to a certain angle, where at this point my steering wheel is fully straight, right? I hope so. Yeah, see? So my car is braking in a straight line. So I'm limiting the ABS kicking in. This is going to allow me to use... It is not much, I don't like to go much. Maybe I could have went maybe a little bit further on the curb, but it's using that little bit of extra track that will open up the next corner, which is very important. Trail braking as much as we can. We keep it on. I like to keep it on third gear here. On second, I think, just to turn in the car. And now we're gonna do a line. Actually, I'm gonna stay in second here. There you go. You have to draw a line. I like to make sure that I put the right wheels on the green AstroTurf. As you can see, try to carry a speed, see, always with an input, always. And I like, there you go, a good marker to where your car should go. So there's the white line, there's the curb, and then there's that, those things, I think they're made out of concrete. And then if you follow the line of the grass, all of a sudden there's an angle, right? The grass goes straight, and then it goes left, and then up again. This is where I personally, if you find more grip somewhere else, please do tell me. This is the part of the track where I found the most grip. So I draw a line to go into the corner, put the right wheels on the green AstroTurf, as we saw, and make sure that coming out of the corner, I'm here. So I aim sometimes for that little angle of the grass, because I see a lot of people going in too fast into this corner because they want to carry speed. And trust me, I'm still guilty sometimes of doing this. But you have to be very, very patient in this corner. If you overshoot this right-hander we're doing now, you're going to mess up your entire speed and lines through this complex, through Les Combes. And the next possibility for you to be on pace again is on the right-hander going down the hill. So really focus on this right-hander as much as you can. See, I'm using really all the track. Now, see, I'm not using, if you try to follow the black line, sometimes we have our lines, we know outside apex and then at the inside, then going outside again. And sometimes we don't realize that we're not using the line that has the grip. So I really had to focus these past few months on using the line, not the line that I have drawn in my head, but where is the grip. Understanding and realizing and identifying the corners where you're not using the right line. Maybe it's in your head as the right line, but identifying, no, I thought this is the right line, but it's not, because there's not grip here. So I have to use another line. So this is what I improved lately. Full throttle and letting go, trying to have also an input if you can. Now, again, using all of the track. I like to use, again, this is using as much track as I can, always with much input as I possibly can. I like putting my left wheels outside of the curb, because then when it's time to my left wheels to go over the curbs again, there's a little cliff of the curb, if I'm making myself understood here. And that height difference that your tire has to go through, it actually stabilizes a little bit of the rear, especially. So there are cars where it's harder to do for the McLaren. On the Porsche and on the McLaren, it's harder to do this. So you might not even be able to go over the curb. But try to use this part of the track as much as you can. Here I'm fishing for, if you check my throttle, I'm fishing for grip, and then I find it. I try not to focus no more than middle of the track. I also see a lot of people going wide here, all the way to the right, and then they're stuck, because the next corner is to the right. And it's a corner that if you want to be fast, you really need to carry a lot of speed. This whole complex is almost all of it. Sometimes I think about this complex as only the next right-hander. All of the corners before the first right-hander and this left-hander we just did, all of them you have to think about as just an obstacle to your goal. And in this section, your goal is that right corner right there. At least that's how I found speed here, to treat that right-hander as an absolute goal in this section. So no more than half of the track coming out of this left-hander. So we continue. I'm preparing that right-hander as much as I can. And all of this I'm able to do with small movements of the steering wheel, because I've been preparing for this corner ever since we got into this complex. See, I'm just letting go of the throttle a little bit, not too much, not coasting, because if you coast here, you're going to understeer. So lifting up a little bit and then start applying the throttle when you can. I'm fishing a little bit too much. And then aim, again, there are cars that, now I'm already full throttle, by the way. There are cars where doing this is very complicated, like the McLaren and the Porsche, for example, because I'm really going to go on that green AstroTurf, as we can see. And you can see my car is a little bit sliding a little bit. Now, doing this with the McLaren and the Porsche, for example, it's very complicated because they don't like curves all that much. But what you can do is just bite as you can see the curb, there's the curb with an inclination, that there's a little bit of the curb that is still flat. On those cars, try to put at least the right tires on that part of the curb, because it really helps the car rotate. And here it's important, rotate the car with the rear tires, okay? Applying the throttle, and if you see, I'm gonna go back just a little bit. Speeding up a little bit, I'm going to apply the throttle before I'm hitting the apex, because here, right here, I applied the throttle because I saw that my line, I'm already thinking ahead. When I turn the wheel, I'm already thinking about this apex here. And then I feel that the car's not oversteering. My line is going to hit this apex bang on, so I already applied the throttle. This will allow me to use the rear to turn the wheel, to turn the car, excuse me, and then again, use all of the track. Technically, I could have still used a little bit more because my right tire could still go a little bit more to the left, but again, you know, it's those things. Yeah, it could be better, but you're already playing with the limits here. The limit of this corner is the end of the yellow and red curb. So use as much track as you can. Now let's see that from with the steering view. So we're gonna try to be smooth as we can with the steering wheel. Smooth but precise. That's what we want. See, finalizing the rotation with the rear a little bit. Here, using all of the track. Throttle and rotate with the rear. See, as you can see, I'm doing these corrections to allow myself to rotate with the rear. Then, ready, I'm gonna hit the apex. Look, boom, there you go. See, I'm using the rear to rotate. I'm sure that, you know, there's people that are way better than me, so this is a point that really allowed me to gain time, is not being afraid to rotate the car with the rear, abusing that little slip. Of course, you're not doing a drift show. The point is not to put the car completely sideways, just to make the car slide ever so slightly with the rear, controlling that slide so it doesn't become a huge slide and makes you lose speed, but maintaining it just enough to be able to be full throttle and allowing the car to ever so slightly rotate, because that will make you gain time. Now we use all the track here. This is a very tricky section for me, always, but it's primordial. First of all, again, I'm using all the track, and this is something, honestly, all the track. You will hit the grass from time to time, especially if you're a beginner and you're not used to this. And yes, it will cost you hot laps, it will cost you maybe some races, but eventually your brain is going to be so used to it that, for example, it's the first time I'm watching this replay. I didn't realize I used this much of the track, but it will come automatically to you. And then when you don't have to think about it, you just have to focus on your braking marker and your line for the next corner. It might be a little bit hard at first, but trust me, it pays off. Now, ideally, we want to brake at the beginning of the curb. I brake maybe a little bit early, but there you go. Again, I'm not a very good driver. And then we go ever so slightly go towards the inside, ever so slightly. And then you see there's the curb on the right, and there's that little bit of the AstroTurf. This comes to another point that I want to talk about. If, for example, a corner requires you to go at 100 kilometers an hour, I used to brake to 100 kilometers an hour and then take the corner, even while trail braking. What allowed me to gain a lot of time is I trail brake in a way, especially on these corners like this where we're going to inside, go wide a little bit to come back. I go into the corner at maybe 102. Not too much. Don't go into the corner where it makes you understeer wide. We're talking about small proportions here. So I go in at maybe 102, maybe 103, because by turning the car while trail braking, the friction of the car and the fact that you're turning will automatically make you lose speed. Even when you're out of the brakes, you use that friction to make you lose the final kilometers an hour or miles an hour if you use those rather interesting units. We're gonna use this curb while trail braking. See, we're coming off the brakes now. Unfortunately, this bar doesn't disappear. There you go. We're coming off the brakes now. And we're gonna go a little bit on that curb to really open up the corner a little bit more to lose those final kilometers an hour. Okay? Let's see. See, I really went on that curb. Use as much track as we possibly can. We have to see, and I'm still trail braking at this point. Focus on the trail braking and using that AstroTurf to maximize the track. See, trail braking, try to always have an input. Now we're going to go a little bit wide, but not too much. Okay, not too much. I sometimes here use first gear. If I went just a little bit too much, you switch to first gear, and as soon as the car rotates with a first gear, you switch back to second. Okay? Now I use, if we use the in camera here, see I'm completely turning. Now always, again, focus on always having an input. We always want an input. Always see, if you check my throttle, I'm fishing for grip, fishing. Do you see that marshal there on the right? Now if you follow a good line, and if you have a setup aggressive enough with the rear ride height especially, that allows this, okay? Or maybe you can also work this with the anti-roll bar, the rear. Now I saw that marshal, and I'm going to apply the throttle and create, because this happens sometimes where sometimes it doesn't create that rotation and then you start understeering wide. But if everything happens good, you slam on the throttle, not linear. No, you give it a big oomph to create that little slide with the rear. I know I'm still turning with the wheel fully to the right, but I can guarantee you my car is ever so, look, the slide is ever so slightly sliding just a little bit, and straighten up the wheel as fast as you can. See, I'm correcting that slide here at the last moment. A mistake I see people doing a lot on this section, and they use all the track. Now, this is a place where I don't like using all the track. Why? Because if I put my wheels on that curb on the outside, I tend to oversteer, and that's going to create a lot of problems for the next corner on the left. Because you're going to have to come back with the steering wheel, you have to turn it right to prepare that corner, and then turn immediately to the left. So your tire is always carrying load, lateral load. There's never a point where your steering wheel is straight. Here, as you could see before, my wheel at this point is already basically straight. So, I'm stupid. Now we want to put your car as much to the right as possible. This corner is hard, especially for me, when to turn in, when to brake. basically, there is this shadow here of the tree. Now, you may say, well, the shadow is not always there. And to that I say, indeed, the shadow is not always there. You have that marshal there, if you can see. You can have that that marker there, and if you see there's the marshal, then there's those pillars, metal pillars, and if you see there's a gap, right? If you check the front of my car, go to the wall, to the pillars, the fences. There you go. There's a gap, so you can use that as a reference. So just before you get to that gap with the front of the car, you brake. But now let's see. The key here is to carry as much speed as you possibly can. You have to test this. You will fail. Trust me, you will fail. But it's by testing the limits that you learn how to do it. So we're gonna go on the brakes. Ever so slightly. See, I'm not full. Carry them with the throttle. Carry the brakes. Just carry to rotate the car. Trail braking. Here I'm coasting a little bit, unfortunately. And I bite this curb on the inside. Again, there are cars, I think when I did this with the McLaren, it's very hard. If I go on this curb, the Mustang can, because, well, it's Mustang. And then here, I feel like the line is good enough, so I'm already applying the throttle to create, again, that rotation with the rear. See, my car is ever so slightly sliding. And again, here, use all the track to not only open the corner, and I talked about this, but what does using all the track mean? It means that you can accelerate earlier and start straightening up the wheel earlier as well. So you're gonna limit TC, so you can carry more speed out of the corner. Now here, the track, here I'm sliding a little bit too much, unfortunately. I lost a little bit of time. The track limits here is not the white line, it is not the curb, it's the end of the curb. The track limit, you can put basically your left wheel on that drainage cover. Okay, unfortunately here I was going to do that, but unfortunately I created too much rotation and the car is ever so sliding. I just want to see this corner at real speed now. And focus on my inputs. You're gonna see I'm gonna brake, but carry the brakes, not fully. I'm just gonna, 60, maybe 70% of the brakes, and carry them, not even that, and then boom it. Then use all the track. Now here it's, of course, it's full throttle. Now here, personally, I must admit that for this next corner, I do it a little bit out of habit. I don't necessarily have a marker to when to turn, to when to brake. Focus just on using all the track, of course. As a marker, you have on the right, there's the barrier, right? The railings, and then there's that orange gate. You can use that as a marker, okay? But here I must admit I do a little bit by feel. When the car is getting close to the beginning of the curve on the left, I start braking and going inside and then aiming for my line. You don't want to go in too early. You want to go slowly. See, I'm braking here. And then start. As you can see, I'm not at a fully 100% on the brakes. Again, it's not a corner where you stamp on the brakes and leave them a long time. You brake here no more than this, and then you drag them. You drag them into the corner because that will help you rotate the car. Then turning in a little bit slowly. I actually went into third gear, but I'm carrying the speed, so it's okay. The third gear allows me to rotate the car. The third gear actually allowed me to rotate the car. Ideally, especially with some cars, you want to just bite the curb on the inside. Unfortunately, I missed it. But again, as you can see on my inputs, at this point, I'm still dragging ever so slightly the brakes, just ever so slightly. And this is something you have to practice. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to waste time, per se. You're not wasting time. I wish someone forced me to do this way early. Practice on dragging the brakes. You'll develop muscle memory how to do it. You'll stop eventually. You will stop thinking about it, because the problem is when we start dragging the brakes into these kinds of corners, We're thinking about it. So it leaves us with less brain power for all the rest, but this is happening so fast. I don't know about you guys, but to me this is happening just so fast. But with time, the more I do it, the more I force myself to do it, the easier it becomes, the more automatic it becomes. And that's what we want. These small things, they have to be automatically done by our brain. Okay? So let's try not to be stupid for once. Here we go. We continue dragging the brakes. I'm already applying a little bit of throttle as well, as you could see. Waiting for the moment where I feel like, at this point, I feel okay, the car, the front is starting to turn in. So now it's time to apply the throttle to make that rear rotate. As you can see, though, I did it just a little bit too early. So now I'm almost fully on the throttle. I'm going to have to let go because I did that just a little bit too early. See, almost full. I'm full, but the car's not rotating. I have to let go a little bit, but not too much. If you saw, I just lifted a little bit. I went from 100 to maybe 60 or 70%, and then bang again to create that mass transfer to put load on the front, lift the rear. So I would create a little bit more rotation because by lifting just a little bit, I'm transferring the grip that was on the rear. Now it's more on the front because there's more weight on the front, and since the rear lift up a little bit, there's less weight on the rear, so the car is more rotating, okay? Now here, don't be afraid, but I'm gonna talk about little margins. If you do this corner, the first left-hander, sorry, and you feel like you're just understeering maybe that little bit too much, but you know that you won't go further than this curve here where we are now. Keep the throttle up and your steering wheel turn, because by putting your wheels here on this curb, it will actually help your car rotate. Oh, that little. But again, I'm talking about margins. Of course, if you're going too fast and you're understeering to Narnia, okay, this curve is not going to help you. It might even actually rotate too much the car and induce oversteer and a huge slide. Again, we're not trying to induce oversteer, we're inducing rotation. Now, yes, technically you can say, well, it's oversteer because the rear is turning a little bit more. Yeah, but it's just a tiny little bit. Again, we're talking about margins. Come out of that left corner where you're maybe just over and understeering that a little bit too much, but knowing that you won't end up further than this curve here. Because if you put those situations together, this curve will actually make you rotate the car. Now, unfortunately here, remember I had a little bit of twitch. I had to work a little bit with the steering wheel, and it made me lose time. So, and then at this point, it's just full throttle. If you take this line, I actually like to take this line where, see here, I mean, technically it's the line, just where all the grip is. And then I tend to hug, again, without tire friction. Here, the steering wheel must be almost light, almost no more strength is being put into the steering wheel. I would say between following this line where I'm staying almost to the left to cover less distance with the car, and having to turn your wheel too much and create friction, I would say go abuse the tracks on that space that you have on the right here to not create friction with the steering wheel. Okay, but if you're able to do a line where the car is light, and you can take this line I took to cover less distance, then use it. Here we are going to brake at just before the beginning of the curve on the left. As you can see, there's the total energies board there, as your car is just underneath. When you're driving, it feels like I'm braking after, but yeah, just as your car is getting underneath that board, the total energy board, there you go. Again, as you can see, my car is at an angle. I'm not parallel to the white line, because I want to use just that little extra curb on the left. Just that, I didn't even use it, but no, there you go. I used a little bit. By going a little bit to the left, I had just a little bit few more centimeters to use before I started turning to the right. I'm going to take this corner on third gear, and I hope this time I'm not going to tell lies like last time. Fully on the brakes, fully on the brakes. I am actually telling lies. I went second, and then starting to let go. At this point, I'm starting to let go of the brakes already. And again, using the curb, see, I'm still dragging the brakes. I'm dragging the brakes and starting to come already on the throttle to fish for the grip. And here I'm using that extra space on the right to lose the final kilometers an hour with the tire friction. Again, this is very important. Use those final 1 or 2 kilometers an hour, you lose them with the friction. Don't lose everything while braking. I'm so stupid, I swear to God. So there you go. We're gonna drag, always an input, there you go. You know, what I like to aim is go a little bit wide, then try to come back towards the end, try to follow that black line. Here I'm a little bit, to my taste, I'm a little bit maybe too much to the left already, but I'm trying to carry the speed. I felt like this was not too bad. Again, I'm at best an average driver, so I'm sure there's much better ways to take this corner. I'm actually going to stay in second here. I don't know why I said third, but there you go. Getting out of the throttle, but it was, again, I was coasting for just a tiny little bit, if you saw. Always trying to have an input. Here, I'm fishing for a grip with both throttle and brake, as you can see. Again, I went a little bit up on this curve. Again, with cars like the McLaren and the Porsche, I don't think I can do this. When I tried, it didn't work. So by just the beginning of the curve on the left with those kinds of cars, if they don't allow it. And here, as you can see, with the inputs, I'm really fishing for a grip here. I'm waiting. I feel like I have to be patient on this. If you put throttle too early on this one, which is very easy to do, you tend to either oversteer a lot or understeer a lot. You have to wait for the good moment, just a little bit before the end of this concrete curb, if you can call that, before really starting to applying the throttle. And again, we're going to want to rotate the car. See here, I'm fully, because I felt it's something that you have to develop as well. Feeling when the car is going to make it, and you can rotate with the rear. As you can see, healing the slide, keeping the slide just enough to be able to be completely full throttle, and again, using as much track as I possibly can. Now here again, as you can see, whoa! The track limit is not the white line, it is not the curb, it's the end of the curb, right before the drain cover for the rain. That's the absolute limit. Here it's very clear as all the track that I'm using. I mean, maybe there's a little bit too much slide at the end there, but by creating that extra slide at the end, it actually created me enough rotation to where at least the front left of the tire, it's still on the track. Hey, man, listen, again, I'm average at best, so I use everything I can. That's the key, use all of the track, okay? Now this one I actually want to see at the inside of the car, how it looks like. Full throttle here. I'm gonna slowly come out of the throttle. Try not to be too aggressive. Out of the throttle, immediately into the brakes. Go back if you need to. Fishing for grip with a little bit of throttle, a little bit of brake. Now I can feel like I've lost enough speed. I can start applying the throttle, patience, and then here I feel like, okay, now I can go. And now I felt it was time to induce the look at this slide. I'm controlling the slide, but maintaining it just enough to turn, but healing it as soon as it starts becoming a little bit out of hand. And now it's full throttle. And now this corner is also a little bit, because you want to keep the speed as much as you can. We are going to, a little bit before the curb, apply brake. See, I don't think I went full at all. Carry the dragging, and then aim, something that helps me for a line here. I should have been a little bit more on the right here. I have a little bit of time to gain here because I felt like this was a good lap, so I was kind of afraid to mess it up. So I was a little bit too cautious. Aim, align. You see there's the curb, there's the green AstroTurf, and then just a little bit further in the car, the green AstroTurf ends. Aim to be kind of, for that to be your apex. As soon as it starts becoming a little bit out of hand, and now it's full throttle. And now this corner is also a little bit, because you want to keep the speed as much as you can. We are going to, a little bit before the curb, apply brakes. See, I don't think I went full at all. Carry the dragging, and then aim, something that helps me for a line here. I should have been a little bit more on the right here. I have a little bit of time to gain here because I felt like this was a good lap, so I was kind of afraid to mess it up. So I was a little bit too cautious. Aim, align. You see there's the curb, there's the green AstroTurf, and then just a little bit further in the car, the green AstroTurf ends. Dragging the brakes and then immediately going on the throttle. I was a little bit too slow there. And then fully to create again that little slide again. I waited too much. I think I have some maybe a half a tenth here to gain. I was a little bit too cautious, but there you go. And here again, use all the track. Use all the track for the reasons we said before. Again, this is another corner. It has to be full throttle. There is no negotiation here. It has to be full, or maybe just a little, with the throttle, get up and immediately go, like a millisecond if you really need to do that. But ideally, in a hot lap scenario, to me, it has to be full. There's no way around this. It has to be full throttle. So by using all the track, we're going to maximize this. If you are having problems with this corner, because a lot of people do, and I do as well, to take the good line to be full throttle. A lot of people use this image. If you see, depending on the time of the day, are the tree shadows on the track. You see those tree shadows right there in the middle of the track? Use those tree shadows as kind of your line. You have to hit those tree shadows with your right wheel, ideally on the curb a little bit, the flat spot on the curb, because if you go too much on the curb that is tilted, it will create either oversteer or it will make your TC kick in and you will lose speed until basically the end of the lap. Or there's the curb on the right side, then there's the grass, there's a railing, and then there's a pole with the lights. Aim for that. It really helps me a lot. That's what helped me a lot on this turn. Aim for that pole, okay? And then we are going to, and then your eyes keeping on the pole as much as you can, and then you start looking further away. But see, we are going to hit this curb. See, the pole just went by and we are basically on the apex. So that might help you. I know that's what helped me. So, and see, we are just hitting that curb. I don't want to, maybe I went into the tilted part. I don't think I did. No, see, just before the tilted part. So I was able to not turning the wheel up, because even if you just hit that part of the curb, it will help your car rotate. Even if it's just a flat spot, it will help your car rotate. Here you can use all the track on the exit. It's the end of the curb as well, if you need to. But since I didn't go on the tilted part of the curb, my TC didn't kick in, and I checked this on the video because I saved the video of the best lap. So the TC did not kick in. So I used all the speed that I could personally get out of this corner. I don't think I could do it more. Then immediately cut the distance. Go to the right. We are going to cut the distance. So let's speed up a little bit. See, cut the distance. Cut the distance. Do as little possible distance as possible. Again, I need to do all of these little tricks. All these tricks that I'm showing you, I need to do them because I don't have the talent or the speed of most drivers. So I need all this. Look, I'm using really as much of the track as I can because I need to. I'm not a fast driver, so I need all these little tricks, and you can call them cheats if you want, but hey, it is what it is, right? See, I'm really using all of the track and then slowly using as little wheel steering inputs as possible towards the outside. Now we want to open this corner as much as we can. Now be careful. I have many times invalidated here because we are going to use the track as much as we can to open up this next left-hander. Now if you say, well, I don't need to open this corner because even if I keep both wheels on the tarmac, I can still do this next corner flat out. Well, yes, but remember what I said to Eau Rouge, if you want to say with the French accent. We want to, yes, go full throttle through these corners, but we need to reduce tire friction. By reducing tire friction, you are going to keep your speed as up as you possibly can. Just be careful. At this moment, do not go too near over the white line because that will invalidate your lap. And I've done this many, many times. With this next corner, the thing I see a lot of newer people do is they start turning when they see the curb. Now, you have to start to being able to draw lines in your head for corners like these where they're very fast and almost you have to turn before you see them. Because again, you might say, but I can start turning when I see the corner and I can still go flat out, but I can guarantee you we are inducing friction. And by turning early, you'll turn less the steering wheel and you will reduce tire friction. Let's go. See, I'm already turning at this point. I'm already turning ever so slightly, but I am already turning the steering wheel. And now ideally, we want to go as close to this. There you go. I'm as close as I can to the curb. Technically, I'm touching it, but if you touch it just a little bit like this, it's possible, even with cars like the Porsche or the McLaren. If you just touch it this little bit, it won't make your traction control work. And in some cars, with some, let's say, if you're not comfortable with using setups with a high rear ride height, okay, and you're having problems taking this corner, you can just eat this curb like this, and it will help your car rotate, okay? And if you're having problems taking this corner, for example, here I'm in 5th gear, but the Mustang has pretty high gears, so it might help you to, depending on the car, of course, short shift here to 6th. Let's say your car here, you can go on 5th, you're just on the yellow, but it's still too early for 6th gear, but you're having problems turning your car on this one, you can short shift to 6th gear, and that will also make your car rotate a little bit. See here, I turned so well, so early, so little that I didn't use all the track. I didn't need to. That saved me some distance. Now here, a mistake I did, I was excited because I felt like this was a good lap, but I would not want too much on the middle of the track. Ideally, I like to be more on the right to, again, cover less distance, to gain just a little bit of time. Now, braking marker here. Again, I'm going to say it depends on the car, but a good one, I'm on the brakes here. I think it was a little bit too early, but again, at this moment, my heart was pounding because I felt that it was a good one. There are these braking markers right here in front of this car. See those braking markers? There's the 150 meter board, and there are all these tire marks on the ground. And there's also that orange gate on the left. You see, there's the grass on the left, there's the wall, and then there's that orange gate. I would say use the one that suits you the better, depending on your car and your level. So choose one of these markings. I use those markings that were just seen in front of the car to kind of judge when I have to go on the brakes. See the ones we just went through? We can still see them a little bit underneath the car now. That's my braking marker right here. because the 150 meter board and the gate, it's a little bit too early for me. Now we're gonna hold the brakes, hold the brakes, hold the brakes, go to the left. Again, as you can see on an angle where my steering wheel is straight, but my car is still going to the left. With a Mustang, I don't like to go beyond the curb because I feel like it makes the ABS kick in too much with a Mustang. Maybe you have the talent that I don't have to do that and really even open up this this chicane more. I don't have that talent, so there you go. All the way to the left. I want to put it on first gear, and then I'm gonna drag the brakes, start releasing the brakes, lose the final kilometers an hour with the friction as well. And here I see a lot of, even I do this sometimes, this mistake is carrying too much speed on this right-hander. And then when it's time to turn to the left-hander, you're stuck. You're stuck. You have to put it too much wheel angle, and then you create understeer, you create oversteer when you go on the throttle. So be patient on this right-hander. Something that I like to aim, there's the curb on the right, and then there's the sausage. And you see at the end of the sausage, there's that little Pirelli board. And if that board is gone, if you can see, it's the end of the AstroTurf and the beginning of the grass. So I like to aim almost to have my right wheels at that point and not go much further on. That's at least what I try to aim. We're going to ride the curb, but of course, as much as we can, but without touching the sausage, of course. And then at this point, do you see, there's the pit entry, and there is the dotted line, and then there's that vertical, like horizontally, and then there's the cone, and there's the full white line. Now I try to use that white line where it meets the dotted line horizontally, where the dotted horizontal line meets the vertical full line. I kind of like to aim for that with my eyes. See, I'm right. I'm aiming straight for it. See, no more. I like almost in my head that full line keeps going, and it's like when you're on the road, you technically don't have the right to cross it, right? So imagine that full line continues, and that you're on the road, and it's like I cannot cross it. Okay. There you go. I'm already full throttle to create that rotation, then coming out of the throttle, but always trying to keep it. I'm coasting a little bit, but now I'm already on the brakes. I coasted a little bit by mistake, but I'm already a little bit on the brakes because I went in a little bit too fast. So if I go on the throttle to have that input and not coast, I might go wide. So I chose to just lick the brakes, okay, to create a little bit more rotation. You can aim, you see on the left, the curb, there are those tire markers on the curb, as you can see on the left. Aim for that to be your apex. At least, again, if you see a better line, please tell me, because I need it. But that's where I tend to aim to. And then, okay, I lost enough speed, I'm coming out of the brakes and already coming on the throttle, then more and more and more and more and more and more, boom. And then here, I'm trying to I feel like the car is not oversteering. I feel like I'm on the good line. So I know at this point, if you're not oversteering wide, I started going on the throttle ever so slightly. Then when I felt like the car was not understeering anymore, boom, I boomed it to create that little bit of tire spin to rotate my car. But as you can see, I waited at maybe 95%, and then I went fully. And here I'm on TC4, and at this point I just switched to TC3 because I felt like the slide, I was enough in control where I could maintain it. I reduced by the TC by 1, and that made the TC work less and give me a little oomph, that little extra oomph coming out of the corner. And then I went to 2. I don't think I used all. I could have used a little bit more of the track, but at this point, I was trying to control that slide, and that was my main focus. And that will give us a lap time, which is my absolute personal best, of 2 minutes 15.575, I think, if my memory is correct.